There's this book that I read a while ago, and I told myself I can't return it to the library until I tell you about it. And it's been recalled. So the book is called Salt Houses. Can you see it? I feel like Vanna White. Do people still watch that show, Wheel of Fortune? Anyway, I think this cover is stunning, and I want to talk about the book cover before I talk about anything else. It's pretty, it's got flowers, it's bright. Before I had heard anything about this book, I saw the cover and thought, that looks intriguing, and the book cover really invited me in. I hadn't heard of the author, hadn't heard of the book, and it was just a cover, really. I am one of those people who judges books by their cover. And from not having heard about this book at all, this book is now my favorite read of 2017. And I want to tell you why. So this book is about a family through different generations. It follows this family through time. And when we start the book, it is 1963 in Nablus, Palestine, and a wedding is about to happen. And we meet this mother named Salma, and Salma has a gift of reading, I want to say coffee grounds, but I don't know if that is the right term, but of reading one's fate. And it's a ceremony where you make the coffee, you drink the coffee, and what remains at the end, Salma can read. And she does this for the women in her family, she does this for women in her community, and something that she takes very seriously. And part of the trust of having this gift means you don't conceal anything, you don't lie. What you see, you convey to the person whose fortune or fate you are reading. And Salma has never read Alia's fortune or fate. And so she looks at her coffee cup, and her beautiful, precious daughter, she sees things that she does not want to tell her. And so for the first time in her life, Salma does not convey all of the truth. What she says instead is that she sees that she will have a life of great love. She sees that the wedding will take place. She sees children. She sees deep, deep emotion. What she doesn't tell her is that she also sees houses lost. She sees instability. She sees houses gained. She sees fight. She sees distance. She does not convey all of that. But the rest of the novel is the story of Alia and of their family unfolding. Now, when we meet this family in Nablus, they've already had a bit of movement in their life. They were in Jaffa first, and years earlier they had moved from Jaffa to Nablus. That's 1963 Palestine. We see Alia get married, we see her in the first few years of her marriage, and then we see the 1967 Six-Day War happen. And in those 3 words, an entire family, and of course many, many families in that region and in the world, their fates change. And so we see how this 6 days has repercussions through time that impact every member of this family. We see how the 6-Day War impacts Alia's marriage. We see what happens to their family. We see the kind of trauma that takes place during that time and how that trauma is passed on generation by generation, family member by family member. And we understand how, or have a small piece of understanding about how things that can be contained in just 3 words, for instance, 6-Day War, how these events impact families deeply. We understand history through the microcosm of this one family in particular. And it's an extraordinary way to understand the world better. Why I think this story is so worth reading is, one, because of the incredible writing, the beautiful, sensitive, delicate, intricate writing that this author, who it pains me to say it's her debut novel, because I don't know, I don't know how she wrote this book, and it's incredible if this is the first thing she's ever written. But the writing grabs you and holds you, and actually has kind of ruined fiction for me recently, because since reading this book and a few other really riveting novels this year, I can't just pick up a light, fluffy novel and read it for fun's sake. I need something that is deep and nourishing, and even if it's light and fluffy, there is still a deft, expert storytelling at the heart of it. So this book has changed my reading habits, and I'm trying to get back to fiction, but having a bit of difficulty at present. So just for the writing alone, incredible book to read. For the characters and the insight that the author has about her characters, this book is worth reading. So each chapter is told from the perspective of a different character, and it's told through time. So we have characters we see at the outset narrating parts of this story. We also see characters that are deeply different from one another. Some of these characters are deeply connected to faith, they're deeply connected to their Muslim identity, and some characters are not and aren't really sure if faith is something important to them. And some of them are actively sure that faith is not important to them. We have characters that hold on to their faith through difficulty, and we have characters who are passionate and and loving, even though others may think of them as quiet. So you walk away from this novel really with no clear idea or one single story of what a Muslim man is, and no clear idea of what a Muslim female is, culturally or religiously Muslim. So for the diversity of the stories and the diversity of the characters that you get, this book is worth reading. It's also worth reading because of the way the author Hala shows how trauma in a family is passed on from generation to generation, and how the models we see around us of love and of marriage both impact us in the kinds of love and marriages that we have, but also that each marriage is so different. And although we may see a model growing up, each character that falls in love in this story has a very different love story. And sometimes the love story they have is in rebellion and in response and in contradiction to the love that they've seen around them, and sometimes it is in replication. So for all these reasons, this book is electric, it is unforgettable, it is so many things, so many things, and I highly recommend reading it. If nothing else you read this year, 2018, read this, Salt Houses by Hala and Leanne. She has a PhD in psychology and her own private practice, and you can see both her identities as a writer and as a psychologist play a role in this incredible story. I may later on do a best of 2017 in terms of fiction and nonfiction, but even if I don't do that, this is the one book I think you should read. Till next time, this is Seriously Planning. Take care.